Yes, we all want to be wealthy, but here's something you probably didn't consider about money. While it may seem like a good thing, especially when you don't have any, it can also be bad for you. Here are some things that only science can tell us about how money can negatively impact your life. No. 1. It can make you greedy. Scientists have discovered that money can activate a part of our brain called the nucleus accumbens, which is associated with addiction. In a study by UCLA researchers, they found that the mere presence of money activated the reward circuit in the brain. Even when participants were told that they wouldn't be allowed to keep the cash, the activation was still present. This means that seeing, touching, or even just thinking about money can trigger a primal response in us. So if you work in finance or know someone who does, it might explain why they spend so much time counting their money. No. 2. It makes people less trusting. If you're rich, you should probably watch your back. A study from Harvard showed that those who had more money were less likely to trust others, even strangers. The researchers believe that wealth creates a psychological distance between the rich and everyone else, which explains why they're more suspicious of other people's motives. And while this may be an effective way to protect yourself in business, it can hurt you socially. Number 3. It causes health problems. As Benjamin Franklin said, money is not the root of all evil, but it is certainly the fruit of all evils. While he didn't say it exactly like that, the sentiment stands. In fact, studies have shown that money is actually related to various health issues. For example, children who grow up around money are more likely to become obese. Also, the constant stress of managing money has been linked to heart disease, high blood pressure, and other ailments. In addition, there's a phenomenon known as sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, where babies die without any apparent cause. And research suggests that SIDS is more likely to occur in families with higher incomes. There are many theories as to why this happens, but scientists aren't sure yet. One theory is that parents who earn more money are less likely to cradle their babies and sing to them, which could lead to a higher risk of SIDS. Another theory is that richer parents are more likely to hire nannies to take care of their children, which reduces the amount of parent-child bonding time. But either way, money seems to be connected with an increased risk of SIDS. No. 4. It reduces sexual satisfaction. According to a recent study, money can actually decrease sexual satisfaction, which might explain why some people are always looking for that next big score. Researchers surveyed over 26,000 women and found that those who made more money were less satisfied with their sex lives. The same held true for men too. Those who earned more were less satisfied than those with lower incomes. In fact, the study found that the richest 10% of men were 17% less satisfied sexually than the poorest 10%. So if you're feeling a little blue between the sheets, maybe it's time to switch jobs. No. 5. It destroys relationships. As the saying goes, money doesn't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy your misery. Studies have shown that money can put a strain on relationships. In fact, research has shown that couples who fight about money are more likely to get divorced. And it's not just about how much money you make, but also how much you have compared to your partner. For example, if one partner earns more than the other, they may feel like they have more power in the relationship, which can lead to conflict. Additionally, if one partner is obsessed with making more money, they may neglect their spouse, which can also lead to conflict. Finally, if a couple fights about money, it can create a toxic cycle of resentment and distrust, which can eventually destroy the relationship. Number 6. It leads to isolation. When you're rich, you can buy all the luxuries that come with it, such as a big house, expensive cars, and designer clothes. But what you can't buy is friends. Studies have shown that the wealthy tend to isolate themselves from everyone else. They do this for 2 reasons. First, they're worried that people are only trying to be their friend because of their money. And second, they don't have time for anyone else because they're too busy working. This can be a problem because human beings are social creatures. We need friends and family to survive. In fact, Studies have shown that people who are more isolated from others are more likely to die prematurely. So if you're worried about your health, maybe it's time to stop counting your pennies and start making some friends. Number 7. It causes more stress. Most people think that making more money will reduce stress, but that's not the case. In fact, studies have shown that those who make more money are often under more stress. This is because they have more to lose. If you're rich, you have more money to worry about losing. That's why the wealthy often feel like they're constantly on edge. They're worried about everything from market crashes to natural disasters to lawsuits. In fact, studies have shown that the wealthiest 1% of Americans are twice as likely to suffer from clinical depression as the rest of the population. So maybe it's not worth it to sacrifice your mental health for a few extra bucks. No. 8. It affects your sleep. We all love money, but it's not worth sacrificing our sleep for. Studies have shown that those who make more money are more likely to suffer from insomnia. This is because the wealthy tend to have more on their minds, which makes it harder to fall asleep. They're constantly worrying about their investments, their businesses, and their reputations. All of this stress can keep them up at night. In fact, a study of over 2,000 millionaires found that nearly half of them suffered from insomnia. So if you're rich and you can't sleep, don't worry. You're not alone. Number 9. It makes you selfish. Studies have shown that money can make people more selfish. In fact, research has shown that those who are obsessed with making more money are more likely to engage in unethical behavior. This is because when you're focused on making more money, you're less likely to care about the needs of others. You're only thinking about yourself and how to get ahead. In fact, a study by the University of California found that people were willing to cheat on their taxes if it meant they could make more money. So if you find yourself becoming more and more selfish lately, it might be because of your obsession with money. Number 10. It ruins your life. This may sound like a bold statement, but it's backed by science. Studies have shown that money can ruin your life. In fact, research has shown that those who are obsessed with making more money are more likely to experience negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, and depression. They're also more likely to have problems in their relationships, at work, and in school. Basically, when you're focused on making more money, you're not living your life to the fullest. You're constantly stressing out about what could go wrong, and you're not enjoying the present moment. Instead, you're always trying to get ahead. And this can eventually ruin your life. As you can see, money isn't everything. In fact, it can actually be harmful to you in many ways. So before you get too caught up in the rat race, remember that there's more to life than just making more money. What do you think? Are you still obsessed with making more money after watching this video? Let us know in the comments below. And please share this video with anyone who needs to hear this message. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.